Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7. Live on hot7025fm.com.
This is Herflow from Hot 702.5 FM. Las Vegas, looking for a winner-takes-all way to burn off that extra energy? Welcome to Bouncy World, the ultimate climate-controlled indoor playground. We're stacking the deck with specials all week long. Cool off with Frosty Tuesdays featuring ice-cold treats for the kids, then join us for free popcorn Thursdays, because nothing beats a salty snack after a giant bounce. And at Bouncy World, we believe every child deserves their moment to soar. Join us every Sunday from 9 to 11 a.m. for Sensory Sundays. We dim the lights and turn off the music to create a calm, inclusive space designed specifically for our neurodiverse community. At Bouncy World, we fly high. From high-flying fun to inclusive play, we've got it all. Visit us at bouncyworldlv.com to book your party or check our open play hours. Bouncy World, jump into the fun today.
Yo, it's Tavon Greatness Patterson. Want to listen to Hot 702.5 on the go? Download the Hot 702.5 app on the Apple Store or Google Play Store if you got an Android like me.
Let's get it.
Hi. Hey. What's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out.
Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Tune in now on hot7025fm.com.
Yeah. Jones. Hey. Greg Deville was at it, man. Hey. If you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help.
All right, good afternoon, Las Vegas. Greg Deville back in the studio once again. So excited to be back with you. It's a beautiful day here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we got to be close to 85 degrees. It is so exciting right now. We're talking investment, real estate. We're talking about some stuff you might want to get into, man. I got a beautiful guest with me this morning, this afternoon now. We want to talk about some stuff that you guys may have been, contemplating about investing in some real estate. As you know, I'm Greg Deville, the broker owner of the largest Black-owned real estate firm in the state of Nevada. That's right. I said it. I love it. I'm excited. It's exciting to know 45 years in the industry. If you haven't gotten my book, The Journey into Entrepreneurship and Success, you got to get my book. This book is going to help you understand some of the pitfalls, the rise, the struggles, the setbacks that come with being in real estate and being an investor. Entrepreneurs, listen, this is a great time to get started. Even if you keep your full-time job, there's an opportunity. Keep your job. We need that residual. We need that consistent income, right? We don't want to just jump off into entrepreneurship because it may take a little while to get there. So I've had the pleasure of meeting some time ago a wonderful young lady. She's in investments. She's into flip properties and all types of investment portfolios. And so her name hit my mind this week. I thought I would reach out, see if she was shy to come on radio, and let's talk a little bit about it. So for some of you that may not know her, her name is Asia Denise, and we want to welcome you to the show this morning, Asia. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm
I feel
excited.
fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful. We were talking a little bit about some of the investments that are available that are out there, with residual income type stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted you to share a little bit. I've been seeing you on Facebook and you've been posting and you've been doing. I'm like, I'd love to have you on the show. So welcome to my show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes.
And I'm a fellow investor.
Yeah.
Never been a real estate agent or a broker, but as an investor, I can speak from my experience.
Yeah.
And just all the advice I can give to everyone is do it.
Do it.
Do it scared.
Do it scared.
Do it scared.
That's good. I think I got that in my book too. Did you read my book?
No, but I plan to read your book. I mean, I just heard your song. I'm excited to, dive in.
I've got a song to the book.
Okay.
Yeah. We're doing it over here at Deville Realty. We're excited about it. Now, when we talk about investments, you and I earlier, we spoke about the 401k and opportunities that you can use for those who have a 401k on their job. Speak a little bit about that to the audience.
Yeah, so a 401k is usually an opportunity that your job provides where you can, invest with your job. Sometimes they match you, sometimes they don't. But it's a way for you to save money for retirement. Yeah. Most of the time that when you do it within your company, they're in control of how you invest it. There are products called self-directed 401ks or self-directed IRAs that you can actually invest the money how you want to. So I usually have conversations with my clients on, hey, find out what type of 401k your job is providing, and we can have a conversation on how potentially we can put it in without any penalties and things like that, how we can put it into a self-directed product, and now you're still able to use it currently to invest. And then again, I always talk about leveraging a 9-to-5 to do that because you have to have a job to, have that 401k. But for some individuals that work for the government, it's called a TSP, which is a thrift savings plan. And that is another product that you could also self-direct if you ask the right questions and you know how to go through that process. So I consult with people on strategies around how to get into real estate investing. And there are so many ways to get into it. People just don't really understand and they just look at it because I've flipped homes. They're like, oh, flipping homes is like, that's not the only way. I just like to be very transparent around, hey, there are so many ways to get into real estate investing. You can start where you are, but I don't try to oversell the, get rich quick idea. I try to sell the wealth building idea, which is, wealth likes time. So do something even aside from your job where you can slowly get into real estate. Let's have a conversation on, what your risk profile is and how you could do that according to, what your goals are.
You mentioned something very powerful, and that's without penalty. What we're finding is that many people are borrowing from their 401 up to a 10% penalty, and they're okay with that to buy a car. They're okay with that. But when you're talking about real estate, there's no penalty because you're really just reinvesting the money, right, that you have vested here. You just reinvest it in real estate. I know through the real estate program, like first-time buyers or even seasonal buyers, right, they can use the 401 and take the opportunity to use it toward a down payment. But now we're talking investment on this show. So let's talk about how we could use the 401 and get into residual income properties, right? Like triplex, fourplex, things that create an income, right? Because you talk about, I know you mentioned CLC lending.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about the lending part. But as we're speaking on the 401k, taking the opportunity to use what they have and use that for now. I don't know how you feel about somebody investing in just one house. I'm more so, and tell me if you kind of feel that triplex, fourplexes seem to give me more residual income versus a house. What do you think about that? What do you have to say on that note?
Well, for folks who really don't understand residual income, you're looking for the cash flow, right? So you're looking to, have some income coming in,
right?
Because there's several ways that you can get into residual income. So you're looking for cash flowing properties. And usually as an investor, we find out, hey, well, what's the cap rate? And then we know this is how it cash flows. A lot of times what we don't know is that cap rate doesn't necessarily mean income if your expenses and you're not qualifying the property properly. So what I always tell investors is just the biggest barrier to investing is what that down payment is going to look like. So yes, using a 401k product is how you could tap into, hey, this is how I get the 20% down or the 10% down. Like some of the products that I have are, it's 10% down and we do 90% financing, right? And then we'll do 100% financing of the rehab. Now that's a fixed fix and flip product.
Right.
But for a cash flowing property, you're still looking at a DSCR loan, which
Mhm.
may, still going to go 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And depending on the terms, you might have a 5-year, 3-year, 2-year, prepayment penalty on it. But you have to just underwrite the deal and qualify the deal. And I think the scariest part for people is, the first part is, hey, where do I get the money for that down payment? The second part is, how do I qualify and underwrite that deal? I'm a huge fan of borrowing other people's experience or getting yourself into some level of mentorship and coaching. I didn't get to where I'm at by myself. I had amazing mentorships around me and amazing coaches around me. I also ask questions. Right. So instead of me trying my first deal, I didn't do alone. I looked for a partner that I could do a joint venture with. Right. And we went into it together, and they had the experience and I was the novice, but I also had to be willing to do more of the work for less money. I had to put myself out there and be of service to somebody who, wasn't paying me and I wasn't adding any value to him, but he was like, hey, I'll do this for you. Right. And sometimes you have to be willing to put yourself out there and say, hey, I will do this part and you do that part. And this is how you get in the game, and be okay with hearing no. Cause I did ask a couple people before, before him, and they said no. And it was okay because they just didn't have the capacity to feel, and they didn't want to let me down. Like they were running their own businesses. They had families. They're like, hey, I don't have the capacity for this, but if you ever have a question, call me. But from a mentorship and a coaching perspective, the fear, you don't have to carry that weight alone. You can carry that weight with another investor who has the capacity. And truly what I'm doing is building a company for complete lending solutions where we have the capacity to not only be that, whether you're borrowing our experience or you're borrowing our money or you're, borrowing our strategy, where I'm working with you one-on-one so that you can have a little bit more confidence around what that looks like instead of doing it alone.
So when you talk, I heard you put the name COC in there, and you gave the logistics behind the name, the lending. So when we talk about independent, because we've spoken about the 401s. So when we're talking about somebody who says, I want to invest, I've got some skill set on how to do certain parts of a flip. How do they qualify for getting with COC lending? What are the qualifications to getting approved to someone who wants to get their feet wet in investing, maybe just starting in a flip house, which is very competitive, I must say.
Very competitive.
I'm a real estate broker. I get first hand on property, and by the time it hits the MLS, 10 offers.
Yeah, full disclaimer, the game ain't what it used to be when it comes to flipping houses. And that's a huge reason why I've, transitioned, right? And I'm using my knowledge and expertise and helping more individuals, not just with flips, but also transitioning to where, I can add more value, right? Because the capital is a barrier, and I can't find all the deals. I'm not a broker. So there are people who can find the deals. And if you find the deals, I can help you find the money and I can help you find the partners potentially, right? But there is no one size fits all solution, right? Credit is always important, but what I'm a private money lender. I'm very different than your institutional lender. As a private money lender, I am mostly qualifying the asset. That does not mean I'm not verifying who you are. That does not mean I'm not doing a background check. That does not mean I'm not running your credit. That means that I am qualifying the lending terms based off of the deal. What's your cash reserves? What is the equity in the property? What is actually happening, your scope of work. What is the exit strategy? That is how I'm qualifying your deals as a private money lender. Now, most institutional lenders, they're qualifying you. So they're asking for your tax returns, your W, I'm not asking for those things. Although some of it I need to verify that you're financially sound and you're not laundering money and you're not doing anything crazy. But most of our terms are really based off of the individual. So, you can come to me with a 580 credit score with a really good deal with some cash reserves because we're qualifying the asset. If there is room for everybody to make money, including you, because I want you to come back. So I'm not going to say, hey, yes, I can just underwrite this, and now you don't make money and you're like, oh, I'm never using Asia again. I'm never talking to Asia again, right? So you just really have to understand the heart of what private money is and understand where we are today as an economy. Money has changed a lot, right?
Absolutely.
And there's so much money out there that needs to be deployed. So private money has gotten very competitive with institutional lenders like banks. But we do only offer non-owner occupied loans. So I'm not individually, I don't do consumer loans. I'm not, I'm not individually qualifying you. I'm specifically looking for, it could be multifamily, it could be DSCR, it could be a bridge loan, it could be commercial, but it's purely based off of, you need an LLC or a trust, and it is purely based off of the asset, not the individual. even though the individual matters, right? And if we want to talk deal terms, somebody that's coming to me with a 720, 740 credit score with experience is going to get much better terms than someone coming to me with a 620 credit score with only 2 or 3 deals under their belt. So we just have to just be realistic. And I usually just try to be very transparent. It's never to hurt anyone's feelings, but I also say, hey, let's just find out where you are. Sometimes that's the barrier of scare. Everyone's scared to run their credit. Just run it. Let's find out where you are. It is not going to cause that much damage. If you pay your bills on time and you do what you're supposed to do, it is not going to cause that much damage on your credit report to find out where you are, to see where you could be. And I can use that same credit report for 60 to 120 days. You know what I'm saying? While you're trying to search for a deal. But let's find out what your purchasing power really looks like. So we can have real conversations, because my process is, hey, you're going to have to fill out the application. And once you have a deal, we'll have that conversation, or you're booking a one-on-one call and we're talking strategy. That's just my process. Like, I don't like to just have conversations for the sake of having conversations.
Absolutely. I certainly concur. That is just we could do that some other time. Right.
Correct.
Are you finding that people are coming to you with their deals, say, hey, I've got this deal, I just don't have enough funding? And second part of that question would be, are you asking that they have experience in flipping property? So they found this house, their ugly house next door, right? He says, man, I'd love to flip it and sell it to my mother.
Right.
But they've never had experience in it. So how are you finding to be able to fund that? And they had no experience. They're just like HGTV knowledge, right? How are you working with those type of scenarios?
So I'm usually working with them in a mentorship capacity to where now you're booking a strategy call and you're paying for me to mentor you through the space. And then that I take the time to help them find the deal and go over the scope of work and really put together their file and their package for them. And that's for those individuals. But I also find that a lot of people are coming to me with their fears. They're coming to me with their stories. They're coming to me with their problems. And I consider myself a problem solver. And I also believe in God. So I also hit people with it is truly, there is not like this one thing that happened to you does not mean it's going to always happen to you, right? One bad partner, one bad deal, one haircut, that is not your future. And as somebody who has gone through the storm of bad partnerships, of trials and tribulations around investors, investor relations, raising money, I truly understand the heart of where people are coming from. So I can speak into that. And you could borrow my experience, or you could just borrow my faith, because sometimes it takes a little bit of faith for you to understand, hey, you could do this. And my biggest recommendation is starting in your backyard. Like I got into Las Vegas in 2008, where I was buying properties in 2008, right? But then when I got divorced, I got into flipping in 2019. I had no flip experience, although I was a homeowner, right? And then again, as a homeowner, I also was doing things wrong. I was just purchasing homes in my personal name. I didn't understand, the LLC and the liability standpoint. So now I'm way more savvy than I was in 2008, right? So it's just a gradual progression. But even if your first goal is to own your own home, because I do not say, home ownership could look differently for everybody. There is house hacking. Maybe your first opportunity is using your VA loan. Maybe your first opportunity is a FHA loan. And now you allow this equity to build, and you take a HELOC out and you use that HELOC for your next investment property, right? Everyone's strategy is different. You really have to understand who you are as an investor and what is your risk tolerance profile, right?
That's right.
Because I had a lot more risk before I had kids.
Oh,
I was risky. And I lost a lot of money being risky, but I don't regret it because I learned so much, right? Now I have children. I'm also investing in life insurance policies and college funds and vacations and the things my kids come up with. But again, the risk profile is different. I'm not going to go after deals where I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's behind these walls. Like I'm not buying anything with fire, but that doesn't mean I can't, lend money to that. I need to something that has like fire, flood, or blood in the past with the home that's like on the property. I'm going to look for an investor that has experience. I'm not going to personally want to underwrite that with my own money. Now I have friends in the industry who I could refer you to, but again, they're also going to want experience because they're going to want to know that you know how to remediate those situations.
Exactly.
Now a lipstick flip with no experience, it's like, okay, all you got to do is some cosmetic rehabs. You're not really replacing anything or making any additions. You're just like carpet, flooring, upgrades in the bathroom.
Textures on the walls. Hide the nail holes and the damaged wall areas.
Put some cute lights up so it doesn't look so dated. no experience, you can get approved with that if you have, the reserves available and you're able to put the down payment down. So it really just depends, but I encourage people to just really go after it, right? Go after it.
We spoke a little bit earlier on those who are looking to pay off their mortgage. And I'm somewhat of against the paying the mortgage off, only because there's so much money in equity that we're allowing to sit there. Oh, but I don't have a mortgage payment. But is that equity making money? Right? I'm all about seeing equity make money. If you've got $500,000, I know people, they tell me I'm almost done paying my mortgage. I'm like, so why don't you invest it and let the investment pay off the rest of the mortgage? Right. Since now you have the information.
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger issues we're finding is we're not getting enough information.
Correct.
That's the reason I want to bring you on today. Let's talk from a different perspective, different angle, from a different lens through someone else, right? Because I've had other investors. I know plenty of investors, right? When you talk about some of the investments from your perspective in your CLC, what are you seeing your rates different? Somebody has a 650, been on the job, but they've got a property they're interested in. What are those interest rates looking like from your CLC?
I mean, so Crown Legacy Capital, we have interest rates as low as 5.5%.
Okay.
Going all the way up to the 10s and 11%. It's like, how, again, where are you with your credit? I really have to look at the deal. I can't just throw blanket interest rates out. But to speak into what you were talking about using the equity in your property, 100% agree with that. People just don't know how to use it, right? And they're afraid to use it. But the biggest fear that we carry as a culture sometimes is you want to pay something off, not realizing that once you pay it off, you actually put yourself in the most risk and liability. Owing someone else is actually sometimes a good thing, right? Because creditors or other debts, they can't take from something that's not there, right? So your mortgage is actually a protection for you. So if you have equity and you pull out a HELOC and you use that HELOC to buy income,
right?
Buy income.
Yes.
Buy income.
Yes.
Not to go buy material things. Allow the income that you buy to fund the lifestyle.
There you go.
So if you do that with the equity in your property, it's you're fully capable of that. A lot of times with older people, I find that they want to pay off their home because they're trying to leave it to their children, and they realize that their children probably aren't in the financial position to either pay the same that they're paying for their mortgage, or they just want to leave it free and clear so that they don't have any burdens, right? But again, I can speak into that too, and sometimes that can become problematic, especially if it's not in a trust, especially if it's not written out properly, especially if you don't teach your children about what property taxes look like, or how to really keep the house up, right? It ends up, it still could be a sale opportunity, right? So there are different strategies for different people, and the biggest thing that I can say is listen to shows like this. Do some research. Do a quick YouTube search. CLC Lending is a new company. I just started CLC Lending. I've been investing under several different LLCs for years, but I'm going into the private money lending space for a reason, because I want us to feel confident and comfortable getting into the space. And sometimes when you look across the table at someone that looks at you, you're more comfortable saying, hey, all right, girl, my credit score is not okay, and we can start somewhere. And that is why I went into the private money lending space, because I'm like, hey, how could I be of service and impactful? And the biggest barrier, besides people sharing their fears, is people saying they don't have the money. And then I look and I'm like, you actually do have the money. You don't even know that you have the money. And this is how we get to the money, right? So the consulting and private money lending space has provided me that. And it's I'm not officially launched until next month, so I'm glad that we're talking about it in advance. So let me come back. So
okay. When you get that startup, we say we're official, we're ready to go. But you have resources.
Oh, I definitely have resources. I have resources. I have referral partners. I've been lending my money for years. So in terms of I have experience doing it. It's just I hadn't the company itself, the website, all the things that I'm going to have in place. That's coming out next month. But you can always, I'm available online. You can always contact me directly, and I want to work with us. There is a huge transfer of wealth happening. We could position ourselves so well. We have focused so much on high income earning position jobs and helping other people create wealth. And that has been the stability. Well, you can't hand that down to your children.
Exactly.
I can work and make $250,000 a year working for someone else. I cannot hand my son a job. What I can hand him is assets. What I can hand him is life insurance policies. What I can hand him is, just things that is a foundational.
Yeah.
But more importantly than the things that I leave him behind, I can give him the tools and the resources and the knowledge. Like my son is 7 and he comes looking, we on the weekends, if we see an open house, we're walking in it.
Yeah.
Right. So he's understanding, what are we looking for?
Uh-huh.
I ask him questions like, what do you see here? What could we do differently?
Uh-huh.
Of course he's a kid. So he's just thinking about how big things are. Oh my gosh, how much fun. But as he gets older, you know, I want his eye. He sees me talking to the real estate agent and I want his eye looking at those corners, looking for water damage, looking for areas of opportunity, look for improvements that we can make that could add value. Appliances is not going to add the value, right? Can we add a bathroom? Can we take a 2-2 and make it a 3-2? Can we take a 3-1 and make it a 3-2?
Yeah.
You know, that's going to add the value. Is there space on this lot to put even a tiny house? They have these little tiny houses. So now you have an additional dwelling unit on your property.
Right.
That could be a house hack if you're a homeowner, right? And now there's so many apps like Pad Split. Drop a tiny house if you have a big lot, rent it out on Pad Split. There's your additional income. Yeah. You all of a sudden become an investor. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's a very, you know, it's a very vague term, but people, you know, they're like, oh, you know, they only want to call investors if you're like millionaires already. It's like, no, you're, you know, if you're investing, if you have a 401k, you're an investor because you're investing in your future right there with your job. You know what I'm saying? So you just want to tell your money what to do. If I can share anything, it's like, hey, tell your money what to do. Don't let it run you. It needs direction.
There's a beginning to every millionaire.
Correct.
And if you listen to their beginning stories, they fail more than they've won, right? Because we talk about Michael Jordan. We see the tongue out, right? But do you know how many times he's been told no? Do you know they didn't want to give him? There was so many setbacks he had. Okay. And just look it up. Anybody listening today, just go look it up. He's had more setbacks. And then eventually it came around. So we talk about millionaires and investors. I don't really keep my flips. I flip them with purpose, right? My flips, I flip for equity. And then I move on to another one. And I just keep building more and more equity, right? And then I keep doing it. And so I'm 45 years in the real estate, in the flip industry.
So you're more into buy and hold. So you're buying, you know, the ugly places, you're making them nice, but then you're putting tenants in them for cash flow.
Well, not in that case. I'm selling.
Oh, you're selling.
I'm selling. I don't hold properties.
Okay.
I don't hold. I had properties, but of course in the 2008 era, things kind of, you know.
Changed.
It changed. I have my own property. However, recently divorced, had to make some changes and do some things, and it happens, right? It's okay. It's
okay.
We're good. We're good. We're
As
good.
a person also who went through that, it's okay.
It's okay. We bounce back. At the end of the day, to the person who's thinking about getting to investments, start with Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Great book to read. Look at the book this gentleman made, The Journey in Entrepreneurship and Success by Greg Deville. There are countless numbers. Think and Go Rich by Napoleon Hill. These are great books to get your mindset, to develop the skill set to say, maybe I only make $20,000 on my first flip, right? But you're profiting.
$7,500. My first flip made like $7,500.
Yeah, right.
Like I was like, I need to be the lender.
or either do something. Sometimes people put too much into their flips. So that's the lesson I try to teach first time flippers.
Right.
You know, we go into this HGTV and we think, oh, I'm going to change everything. Everything can't be changed right now. Right. Now I'm a master at opening up walls. I open walls. I enlarge because many homes I build, I buy were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Okay.
Some early 90s was a lot of walls. You turn a wall, another room. I open the wall, go around the wall, and there's the kitchen. No, let's open the kitchen.
Yeah, privacy was a thing back then.
Right.
Now everyone likes that open floor plan.
Everybody wants open, and I'm big on it. And my friends, they do flips. They call me to come by and say, Deville, tell me, what would you do here? And I said, I recess here, and I open this wall, and I make it a counter so you can cook and entertain. Right? That's our new concept.
Right.
You know, people sometimes think just a little lipstick, little carpet and paint.
Right.
You know, that's all I need to do.
Right.
You mentioned something earlier, changing fixtures. Very important. Changing the vanity. Tear those old vanities out. You know, tear the tubs out. Put the new modern tub. Tear those one kit tubs out of there. A lot of the homes in the 90s were built with this one piece. Remember? It's a tub shower kit. Right. Tear it out and tile the walls. And go with bigger towels. We used to have those little towels, and then we went to 12 by 12. Now we 18, but now we 12 by 24s, right?
Right.
Modern day. And let's talk about. So you got the funding now. You got the property. All right. Now your down payment was very important because we understand that's assuring the lender, right, that you can handle this. But let's talk about the monies it takes to do it.
Right.
So are you with this loan? Are you doing? I know some hard money guys and some lenders want to, pay as you check off the list with the inspectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't
do
fund
draws.
it. Yeah, do draws. In fact, that's what made me go be a handyman, is because I worked for construction companies in the 80s, late 80s, working with construction, and they get a draw. And if they failed the electrical, they didn't get a draw.
Right.
They failed it on Thursday and Friday's payday. Well, they didn't get a draw.
Right.
So there was no payday.
Right.
And so for me, I didn't get paid, but I worked. So a lot of construction guys don't have the capital to pay the help. And so they struggle right here because it's only based on draws.
Right.
And so what made me go out and start, because my dad taught me how to be handy, right? When I didn't even want to. I didn't. I despised my dad for that. He'd make me fix things when I was 8, 9, 10.
But you love him now for it, don't you?
Oh, I wrote a whole book about the man. I wrote a book how he made me, when my friends would knock at the door and say, "Can Gregory come out and play?" And he said, "No, he's working." And I thought that was so mean. I could be playing and he'd rather me looking at him pour concrete and lay bricks and trim trees. But guess what? Today I've started a tree trimming business. Today I pour concrete. Today I tear out walls.
Your dad's loving you. He's smiling.
Yeah. Dad is, if there was a such thing as seeing you from heaven.
Yeah.
That's why, the first lesson in the book is take your hands out your pockets. Because when I'd be watching Dad, I'd be standing there with my hands in my pocket. And he would look at me out of frustration and say, "Gregory, get your hands out your pockets and find something to do."
I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And so that's the first chapter in my book, is get your hands out your pockets.
Wow.
And so it stayed with me all these years. And so now we're trying to help as many as we can.
Right.
So if someone listening and you don't own a home, you need to first, let's get you into a home, because you're paying somebody's mortgage. I'm looking at you in the camera. You're paying somebody's mortgage, right? So we got to stop paying the mortgage. You're already going to work to make the owner rich at the company, right? So they're making money off of you. The landlord's making money off of you. You never own a car because as soon as you almost paid it off, you went and bought another car. So you don't own anything. We've got to get to the place that you've got to own. I always ask people this, Asia. I say, do you own the space you lay your head at night? Because if you think about $1,500 a month on a rent times 3 years, that's $54,000. Ask me how I know.
Because you probably paid it before.
I paid it. I paid it. I did the math. I did the math because I rented in 2005. No, it was back in 2014, 15. We rented a house before we bought. And I stayed there 3 years. I did the math. And the man only paid $180,000. So within 5 years, he's almost paid the house just by tenants. So I tell people, you're renting a house, you're paying the mortgage.
You're paying his mortgage.
Yeah. And so I say, if you're renting, you're paying a mortgage already. They say, well, how am I paying it? Because you're paying it for the landlord.
Right.
And he's getting the equity in the home. So why not put you in the house? Right. That's why I've been radio 10 years.
He's getting the equity and the principal.
Yeah. Right. So my point is, let's get you into a home.
Right.
Let's get you, even if we go through no money down.
Right.
You got risky credit. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
Right. People say my credit bad. Well, how bad is it?
Right.
What do you need to do to get it right?
Correct.
Let's focus on that. Right. Let's. And most people say, I don't want to look at it. Well, we need to look to see where you are. Right. Close your eyes. I don't want to look.
I'll look for you. Just sign this paper right here and I'll bring it back to you.
Yeah. We got to start just facing the elephant in the room.
Correct.
And accept the fact I'm not where I should be. But how, and I'm very transparent. In 2015, I was not in a position. The market as realtors back in 2008, when the market just flopped. I remember we bought a flip in 2006, and I paid for on J Street, H and Hart over there. The cheapest house you could buy was $110,000 back in 2006. And that market fell in 2009, 2008 and 2009. That house sold at the auction for $25,000.
Wow.
And the thing, we just had to let it go back to the bank. We invested about $30,000 into it, only to take a loss. But today, market has recovered. And I tell people, now get into it. Maybe it's a little higher than you want to be. Like the West Side. I do a lot of West Side. A lot of people hear me on the West Side, so I buy their home and get them in another home, right? But we're getting the equity out of that home. I just sold a home to a lady. The Friday before last, we sold her home. The equity from the sale, we got her another home, much larger home, right? So this is what we're doing with equity. So if she was satisfied with her home, she had $175,000 equity check. She just chose to put it on another house. But I tell people, if you got that kind of equity, let's look at a fourplex. Let's look at something we can make money on, right? So that's an investment, right? Coming to you and buy. And I tell people, buy ugly.
Buy ugly.
Buy ugly, please.
Buy ugly. Buy old.
Yeah, ugly and old.
Ugly and old. Just buy ugly and old.
And that way you got.
They don't even make houses like that anymore. They have so much character. I love me an older home.
Yeah.
You can't get me in one of those tract homes that they're building these days. I just love land and I love my privacy and I love, again, I had to do some renovations to give myself an open floor plan, but that was far cheaper than trying to buy an open floor plan today. And then sometimes I also have trust issues. So some builders all builders are not created equal.
Well, the builders aren't the builder. The builder is Jose, Juan, Hector,
But I'm just saying, like, people don't think that new homes could have issues too. But builders also, like, when you move into a new home, there could be issues, especially if you buy the first one and they're still building. People don't talk about, like, hey, what do buying a brand new home in a new community and what are those problems that you face as you're thinking as brand new, you're not going to have any problems. Actually, you might have some problems because they could be working out some kinks or there could be some construction happening and you didn't know that they just filled a pipe with concrete or something and now your bathroom is backing up. You know what I'm saying? Accidents, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you probably have something in there to get it fixed. So I never stray people away from buying a home. I'm just always like, do your research and your due diligence, and really understand what you're getting into. But to double back on what you were saying, yes, you come with the down payment, you're ready to get into a property. You're like, you've already booked a strategy call. You're like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I would also have your team ready.
Yeah.
So know who's going to be your contractor. If you're building from the ground up, know who's going to be your your builder. Like, because a contractor and a builder is two different things. A GC and a builder. Yes, sometimes they could be one and the same, but they're not always one and the same, right? And then a handyman is completely different than that, right? So just really understanding, like, who's your team? Because I'll be on your side from the finance perspective, and then I can also be on your side either as a partner or a strategist. But I'm not the builder and I'm not the contractor, so you want to bring that experience in. And especially if you have no experience, as someone who underwrites you, I want to know that you already thought about your team.
Yeah,
I already know. I want to know that you already have your real estate agent ready to go, and you've already said, hey, she knows, like, before, maybe when the house is like 75-80% done, she's already working on a coming soon listing, and she's not waiting for everything to be finished. I want to know that you're gonna you have plans on putting a home inspection in before perhaps you actually wait for the first person to put an offer in to put a home like know if he actually did a good job and have that contingency in place, because if you don't have any experience, paying for a $350 home inspection again before you actually list it could be beneficial to you. So that way you're not waiting for someone else to, you get excited, someone put an offer, and now they're like, your contractor actually didn't finish all these things, you know what I'm saying, or didn't do all these things. So these are little things that someone who's brand new, again, I would advise you to go to a lender when you don't have that experience. At least show that, hey, you did a little research and you have your team together, and these are like the X's and the Y's and the Z's and the I's that you've looked into to protect the investment, and you've thought about different exit strategies. And when your first exit strategy doesn't work, you have a backup plan, right? So the team is very, very important. But just understanding, like, this one conversation, we could talk on and on and on, because truthfully, everyone could do something different. Like, even your client who took the 175 equity check to buy a bigger house, could she had taken 80% of that and bought the bigger house and then kept the one that she had as a rental and did a refinance instead of a sale, you know what I mean? To refinance her out of a portion of the equity, leave some of it in, put a tenant in there. So now she has cash coming in on the one that she was selling, and then put the 80% into a bigger home. You get what I'm saying? And now again, she's purchasing something that's a little under market value. So you're buying with a little bit of equity, even if it's $5,000, negotiate, right? Try to get some concessions, negotiate. Now don't try to give people a haircut, because, people do fix up their homes to sell, and they do know the value. Like they're probably being represented properly, hopefully. I don't know. You know what I mean? To where they're going to get the value, but just, don't be afraid to negotiate, because even if like I love it, I'm always going to put on a little poker face and ask for something, like whether it's the repairs, whether it's a concession, whether you're coming with the closing costs, help me not pay so much money out of pocket. Right. And the lay of the land has changed so much. I mean, both of us could talk about 2008. We could talk about 2020, and I was crushing it in 2020. Right. Right. So the flip game just has changed a lot. So I don't even like, that is like not even my bread and butter anymore. You know what I'm saying? And then when I think about building a portfolio, I'm more in your bucket where, I'm going after cash flowing properties, but also knowing, because I know so much about the space, I'm also comfortable going outside of my backyard. So I've spent a lot of time. I've done plenty of investments here, and I'm also an investor in Louisiana. I'm also an investor in Ohio. I've also done things in Florida. So I'm not very. I kind of can move where the market is, because I do know how to build out a team, and I can lend nationally. So I could do a little bit more, and I feel like I'm getting better cash flow in other places. Doesn't mean I'm not getting a headache though. So now I'm in this season of my life. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm rethinking it, because I have property managers, but I'm also having to manage them. Like some of them are no good. Like I'm about to fire one right now. And I'm not going to put her on blast, but she knows it's coming. Yeah.
And that's the sad part is, property management I've done for many, many years. Yeah. And when I opened my brokerage over 10 years ago, I vowed I wouldn't do it anymore. I did it off record for people who were investors, and I kind of manage it for you and take care of it. Tenants move out, we go in, I send my crew. My question to you is, so while you have the lending going, do you have contract referrals or contractor referrals that you're also, because you've proven those contractors, right? You've proven their work. You've proven sometimes things at the end could use a handyman, just something small, little things that need to be tightened up, do you also lend referrals? Someone comes to you, wants to do a flip, say, hey, I have great credit. I want to get my feet in the wet in the business, in the market. So you working that as well? You're kind of doing referrals?
Well, I have a lot of referrals, but specifically, I know a lot of contractors here. The contractors are really busy here. So it really depends on his schedule. I don't charge anything for a referral. Like that's just, on him and his schedule and how he works it out. So I do have a referral based system, but in other places, I usually ask for a referral. Like when I went into the Louisiana market, I didn't know anything. And now I'm like, hey, can I get a referral from other investors that I knew in the market? I asked them for who they use for handyman, because my property manager was using a guy who charged $75 just to show up for a toilet handle. A toilet handle. I feel like you could have YouTubed. I was so upset. I mean, I'm probably I could tell stories for days, but so I had reached out to someone and asked for a referral, and then she was able to do that. But that's asking will get you far. And social media, the power of social media, just put a post up, put it on social media. If I see it and we're connected and I have a referral or a good resource for you, I'm for sure going to give it, especially in today's day and age where, vetting people out is a skill. You need discernment. Right. You need a track record. Sure. I have a whole resource guide on how to vet a contractor.
Well, here's the danger, though, of that. Even though you vet them, sometimes they take on more than they can handle. Right. There are times when I've seen contractors, I'm going to just slip. I'm going to do this. And I got a crew over here. And then they take another project, and that project overwhelms them. Now they've got you and them. And now he's battling on getting it done. And so you take second seat now to his main project. Right. So that becomes the thing I've seen. Is spreading themselves too thin.
Well, sometimes they have no choice also because of how the money's flowing. When you brought up draws and things like that, they can only move as fast as the money comes in because they have staff to pay, right? So we have to honor that and respect that. And usually, especially when I was new, I'm very transparent. I don't try to act like I know everything. I literally would tell my contractor, hey, I'm a real estate investor. This is my first property here. I'm getting a hard money loan. they require me to do draw requests.
Yeah.
This is the draw request schedule that they operate on. Can
Yeah.
you please read it and look it over and make sure it's something that you can manage? Because I don't have anything to give you unless they approve this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, some lenders like me, we do advanced draws, but then also I won't do an advanced draw for everybody. Like if I know that you have no experience, I'm not giving you an advanced draw because I want to check the work. But I also am not like I'm not going to micromanage you where I'm not necessarily going to make you pay out of pocket for an inspector to come out and look at it.
Yeah.
I might just say, hey, can you send us pictures? Do you get what I'm saying? So I know that you got to a certain level of the project. Now we will need an inspector to come out like once you're like halfway, 3/4 of the way, because we want to make sure, especially if you have no experience, that you're in a good position to sell and that ARV is lining up, right? But that's a lot of times that's where I come in, because it depends on, hey, are you just using me solely because, you know, I have a good interest rate or you like my terms, or are we partnered and now, you know, you've hired me as like a coach or a mentor in this space, and now you're like, hey, Asia, come out here, because that would come with a mentorship package. I'm coming out for nothing, right? Versus, you know, a strategy session with me is like $99, right? So you could call me and then we could go over ways or visually like a FaceTime on what that would look like. So there's just different ways that you can connect with me on how to get to the next phase without necessarily needing to spend the money on the $350 or somebody, you know, to do an appraisal or inspection too far in advance of you, you know, closing on the deal, right? So those are just, you know, again, draw requests are a thing, you know, we do require them, but the more we have a relationship, the better your terms will be, because the more we could do advanced draws, the more you can negotiate on some of those points, the more you can say, hey, Asia, this is what I have under the belt. Or again, credit and experience helps a lot, right? Absolutely. So you may have, you know, the credit and the experience, but now you're like, I'm a surgeon. So now I actually have to hire you because I need boots on the ground. That's a service that I can also offer too, because where you're just like, hey, I can fund it myself, or I could afford, you know, you like, I'm cash, but I actually don't have the time, Asia. Do you get what I'm saying? And then I could be your boots on the ground. Obviously it would only be here. But I have a friend in other markets that also charges where she's boots on the ground in other markets. Right. So I have grown a really great network. And in order to grow a really great network, we had wins, but we had losses. And most of my partners, we've been in the trenches together. So we can say, hey, there's been times where we were, you know, happy with each other. And there's been times where we had to have hard conversations on this is whether it's repairing something. And no, you got to eat like that. You got to pay for that. Because you didn't pay attention to that. And that was your one role in this whole deal. You know, and you have to be comfortable, you know, doing that and not be emotional, you know, and as a woman, it's hard for me to tell other women to not be emotional, because that's a skill, right? But you really have to try to separate the data, the facts from the project from your emotions.
Well, give them your contact information. We've been cited by the engineer for time's sake, but give them your contact information, how they can reach you, your social media platforms. Can be found.
Well, right now you can reach me on all social media platforms at Asia Denise. On Instagram, it's at officially_Asia Denise. I'm Asia Denise on all social media platforms. That is the best way to reach me right now. Especially if you're interested in coming to my brand launch, which is in May.
I want to thank you so much, Asia, for coming by. Such a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you for having me. Have me again. Have me all the time. This is fun.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. And again, thank you for taking the time out of your time, busy schedule this morning, to be on the Greg Deville Show. So we talk wealth and real estate here. And so thank you again. We'll do it again. And well, Las Vegas, until I talk to you next time, may God's best be yours. Take care.
Jones, hey, Greg Deville was at it, man. Hey, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville. He'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in. We here to help. Now tune in. We here to help.